These two guys seemed better suited for a comedy act than a life of crime. In a bizarre attempt to make their robbery more dramatic, they rode a motorbike straight into the store, swerved theatrically, and leapt off to draw their guns. But their performance quickly flopped. Police arrived in the middle of the act, and within seconds, one of the would-be robbers was slammed to the ground and taken into custody. A quiet street turned chaotic in seconds when two men pounced on a young victim, tugging at his backpack and trying to drag him down. The situation was spiraling fast until fate and law enforcement intervened. Out of nowhere, a police vehicle raced into the frame, tires screeching as officers leapt out with decisive speed. The sudden arrival flipped the entire scene on its head, leaving the attackers stunned and scrambling as the officers closed in. In an instant, what began as a street robbery transformed into something straight out of a high-octane action film, with police delivering the dramatic final move. A routine ride took a dangerous turn when two men on a motorbike began tailing a young rider, shadowing him through the street before suddenly cutting him off. Forced to the roadside, he found himself staring down a gun as one attacker issued threats and demanded his motorcycle. But the young man didn't panic. Reading every movement, he stayed perfectly still, waiting for the slightest opening. And when it appeared, he struck with lightning speed. In one clean motion, he overpowered the armed robber, knocking their plan completely off balance and sending the pair into disarray. In seconds, the ambush collapsed. Not because of force, but because their target proved quicker, braver, and far smarter than they ever expected. A routine moment in a parking lot nearly turned into a crime scene. As a woman opened her car door, two men on a motorbike suddenly accelerated toward her, closing the distance in seconds. Their intent was unmistakable, and the danger immediate. But standing nearby was someone who refused to be caught off guard. Reacting with flawless timing, the man drew his gun, his decisive move freezing the suspects in their tracks. The would-be attackers backed off instantly, abandoning their approach before things could escalate. The entire encounter ended as quickly as it began, a stark reminder that awareness and swift action can stop a robbery before it even starts. Surveillance footage from a small neighborhood shop captured a scene straight out of a thriller. An armed man walked in with cold intent, pointing his weapon and demanding cash. The tension was immediate, but the store owner stayed remarkably composed. Watching every move, he waited for the slightest break in the robber's focus. When that moment came, he didn't hesitate. In a burst of courage, the owner launched forward, tackling the armed intruder and shouting for help. The sudden move stunned the assailant, giving nearby workers and customers the chance to rush in. Within moments, the robbery was over, and the gunman found himself overwhelmed. A quiet street erupted into chaos when two men approached a parked car, attempting a quick grab-and-go theft. But their plan collapsed the moment the owner caught on. Acting in a decisive split second, the owner pulled out his firearm, forcing the would-be thieves to abandon the vehicle. The sound of gunfire sent them scrambling in panic, running for their lives before they could be caught. A man stormed into a small convenience store, brandishing a long rifle and ready to launch a robbery. But before he could utter a single demand, everything changed. Behind the counter, the clerk had already reacted, calmly raising a .38 caliber handgun and fixing it squarely on the intruder. The sight was enough to shatter the gunman's confidence. His bravado evaporated instantly. Without hesitation, he spun around and sprinted back out the door, fleeing so fast he didn't risk even a backward glance. A sudden street robbery sent shockwaves through a busy roadway after a man ripped a gold necklace off a young woman and bolted. But his escape didn't last long. Nearby pedestrians immediately sprang into action. Cut off and desperate, the thief pulled out a knife, waving it wildly to break through the crowd. The tense standoff held for moments, as bystanders kept their distance yet refused to let him run. Then came their chance. With quick coordination and sheer courage, the group rushed in, subduing the knife-wielding thief and holding him on the ground until police arrived. A brazen daytime snatch and run ended, not with a getaway, but with citizens standing firm and stopping the criminal in the middle of the street. A routine day at a small shop took a sudden turn when a masked man walked in, moving with unmistakably suspicious intent. Sensing danger, the store owner immediately confronted him, ordering the stranger to remove his mask. The man refused, and that was all the confirmation the owner needed. In a split second, he drew his firearm, shifting the balance of power instantly. The would-be robber froze, then bolted for the exit, abandoning his plan without a word. The situation ended as swiftly as it began, with no shots fired and one vigilant store owner stopping a robbery through sheer awareness and decisive action.